Hey, what's going on everybody, J-Mac here. So today's video is going to be kind of an update video for the Zombie Bears Helltooth build, and just wanted to show you guys what I'm currently running and some of the tweaks that I've made to the build and what a lot of people are running on the leaderboards at the moment. So one of the biggest changes is the addition of the Henry's Perquisition offhand, which is the Season 4 exclusive Witch Doctor item. On the PTR I didn't have a Season 4 character, so I was just running Thing of the Deep pretty much the entire time. But if you can get at least, I would say, 8 pickup radius, you want to go as close to 15 pickup radius as possible. But about 8 or so on your other pieces of gear, I think this is the best option. You get a ton of damage reduction from this, and it also charms enemies. And what this really allows you to do is skip ahead in a rift. You can skip mobs, and those enemies that are hitting you as you're trying to skip mobs won't kill you, hopefully, because of this damage reduction when they hit you for the first time. So it's very good for that. And with this extra damage mitigation, I was able to drop 1 defensive gem and then add in the Bane of the Stricken legendary gem for really good single target damage, especially against the Rift Guardians. So at the moment it's Bane of the Trapped, Bane of the Stricken, and then 1 defensive gem Esoteric Alteration. Now a lot of people have been running Molten Wildebeest still as their 1 defensive gem. Still very good. I just prefer Esoteric. For your own playstyle, decide which one of those you like the best, which one feels right for you. And then another change that I made is dropping Gruesome Feast for Pierce the Veil. So 20% more damage all the time, but your mana costs are increased by 30%. And with that change, I went ahead and dropped Pyrogeist and switched to the Corpse Spider's Blazing Spiders, which regens mana. So it kind of offsets that extra mana cost a little bit. Now another thing that a lot of people on the leaderboards are doing right now is running Bad Medicine in this spot for more damage mitigation. If you do that, I would say keep the Pyrogeist up here as your primary, because you're not going to need the mana regen at that point. So let's quickly take a look at the abilities and the gear. Now I'm just going to go over them very fast, mainly because a lot of it hasn't really changed from the last Zombie Bears video. I will link that video in the description of this one. That way you guys have a little bit more of a reference point as far as some of the more in-depth mechanics, stuff like that for the build. One thing I do want to definitely point out though is that you really want to mind your Convention of Elements rotation. We're running the Convention of Elements in the cube. When that rotates around to poison, you want to make sure that you're spamming Zombie Bears the entire duration of the poison. So you want to line up your Convention procs so that you can optimize your damage with your Zombie Bears. Let's go over the abilities real quick. Zombie Charger, Zombie Bears. Summon Zombie Bears that stampede towards the enemy. Each bear deals 520% weapon damage. And you summon 3 bears per cast. And again, as usual, if you stand up against a wall with your back against a wall, you can make the bears travel farther, and you can make them go in a straight line, hopefully hitting 1 target with all 3 bears to optimize your DPS. Corpse Spider's Blazing Spiders gives you mana back, also procs Focus and Restraint, so that's the biggest reason why you're running a primary in this build, to proc the other half of Focus and Restraint. Soul Harvest Languish gives you intelligence, it gives you armor, and slows enemies. The biggest kicker here, though, is definitely the armor. The armor is very important. You want to make sure that you have this armor buff up as often as you possibly can. It's very important the higher you go to stay alive. Spirit Walk Jaunt, mostly for movement speed and to get out of really bad situations. You just definitely want to time your Spirit Walks properly. You don't want to just spam it all the time, especially if you're in like a large group of enemies. You want to make sure that you time it so that right when you're getting ready to get hit by maybe a melee attack, or, you know, some sort of thunderstorm or something like that, to really make sure that you stay alive. Wall of Death Firewall. This is going to proc our 6-piece Helltooth and does a lot of our damage. This is the most consistent part of our damage, and you really want to spam this just about every time that it's off cooldown. And with the Jerem's Bracers, you can cast it 3 times in a row before the cooldown begins, and it also buffs the damage. The only time that you don't want to be spamming this ability when it's off cooldown is during the Convention of Elements rotation to poison. You want to be spamming Zombie Bears that entire time. But hopefully you can line up your Convention procs to where you can spam the Firewall first and then spam Zombie Bears the entire time without losing any Firewall DPS. Piranha's Paranado. This is mostly there to pull everything together, although it does a little bit of damage. It also gets buffed by Helltooth, and everything takes 15% increased damage as well, but this is really there to pull enemies together, and your mimics from the Grim Reaper Mask will also cast this to pull enemies together as well. Grave Injustice, mostly for the cooldown reduction. It's really good for Soul Harvest, Languish, and Spirit Walk for defensive reasons, and it's fantastic for Firewall spam as well. Pierce the Veil again for more damage. Spirit Vessel for a second life. Swampland Attunement is really where the majority of our toughness comes from. This was the biggest reason to run Thing of the Deep before, with the extra 20 pickup radius, because the range of this effect is increased by your gold pickup radius. So this basically had a 40-yard range to it from just the ability and Thing of the Deep. So we're losing that running Henry's Perquisition, so because of this reason, you really want to try to get at least 8 pickup radius on your other pieces of gear. You want to try to get as close to 15 pickup radius as you possibly can to really maximize this ability though. And then on the Hellfire Amulet, the 5th passive is Confidence Ritual. 25% additional damage to enemies within 20 yards. This is basically a melee build, so you have this buff just about all the time. Next up we have the gear. The Scrimshaw with percentage damage, intelligence, vitality, zombie charger damage always rolls on it, as well as reduces the mana cost of zombie charger by up to 50%. Then the Henry's Perquisition with intelligence, vitality, crit chance, and wall of death damage. As far as Helltooth pieces, int, vit, armor, and zombie charger damage on the boots. And on the secondaries for these pieces, you really want to try to get a single resist of some sort, preferably lightning or arcane, because those don't get buffed by Swampland Attunement, and then pickup radius. So you get more benefit from the Swampland Attunement and Grave Injustice. Pants, intelligence, vitality, armor, 2 sockets. Chest piece, intelligence, vitality, wall of death damage, and 3 sockets. Helltooth mask, intelligence, vitality, crit chance, and a socket with a life percentage gem. I have seen some people drop the crit chance on the helm piece and go for another defensive stat. That is a possibility. On the Helltooth mantle, int, vit, CDR, which could also be armor, and wall of death damage. On the gloves, intelligence, vitality, crit damage, crit chance. As for the focus and restraint, you want int, crit damage, crit chance on a socket on both. And again, the focus and restraint, the one half of it will be procced by zombie chargers, zombie bears, and piranhas, and the other half by your corpse spiders. So here's the other ring. And we got the Belt of Transcendence, int, vit, life percentage armor, and this will give us 15 fetish sycophants that will tank for us and do pretty considerable single target damage. The Jerem's bracers with fire percentage damage, intelligence, vitality, crit chance, and this is what allows us to cast Firewall 3 times in a row before the cooldown begins and buffs its damage by up to 100%. And then we've got the Hellfire Amulet with int, crit damage, crit chance, and a socket, and then the Confidence Ritual passive. As for the Kanai's Cube, we've got the Furnace in the weapon slot still 50% more damage versus elites, champions, and bosses. The Grim Reaper in the armor slot, you get 2 mimics pretty much all the time that will cast the majority of your abilities and do very considerable damage. They also get buffed by the 6-piece Helltooth multiplier. And then the Convention of Elements, 200% increased damage to a single element which rotates around, and in this build it's going to be buffing fire damage and poison damage. Paragon is pretty much the same. Get as much movement speed as you need, then go intelligence. Offense wise, crit chance, crit damage, then cooldown reduction, then attack speed. Defense wise, armor percentage, life percentage, all resist, then life regen, and then utility, resource cost reduction, life on hit, and then area damage. The thing about area damage is it's still bugged in this patch, so you're not getting the full benefit from it. Also, it seems that one of the issues with the Helltooth lag is having area damage on gear. So what a lot of people have been doing is just dropping area damage completely, and that's really controlled a lot of the Helltooth lag. So you can do that if you want to. In the video I'm about to show you of a level 67 Greater Rift, I had a little bit of lag here and there, and maybe with no area damage I wouldn't have had it. But so far I've left the area damage in, because even with it not working properly, it's still more damage than you would normally have, so I'm still running it in Paragon. But you can drop it if you're having really bad lag issues. I would especially recommend dropping it in Acid Cloud variations of this build, and then Gold Find after that. So there you go, guys. I'm going to leave you with a level 67 Greater Rift that I finished last night. It was honestly one of the most insane rifts I've seen in quite a while, and it was even in a cave, which cave maps notoriously are very poor. This was a really nuts one, and it was really pretty easy overall. There's not a ton of lag that I saw during this rift, and I really don't think the lag is all that bad for zombie bears in general. It's much worse for Acid Cloud variations. This was even with area damage like I already discussed, in my Paragon, and the lag from time to time with a really high mob density was bad, but for the most part it really wasn't. Now that might be partly dependent on the map that we were on and stuff like that too. There's a lot of factors that really go into the lag issues, but yeah, it really wasn't too bad. So anyways guys, I hope you enjoy the gameplay. Again, like I said, I normally don't do this format of videos. I normally just, you know, do the talk about the skills and stuff during the gameplay because that's what you guys like to see, but I wanted to show the full gameplay in full screen without any distractions or anything like that. That way you guys can really see how great of a Rift it was. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you next time.